Hello, YouTube, and a very warm welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm here with Mel Davies, who managed to come top 8 in the Stevenage Regional this weekend, playing Dracotail K9 in a room dominated by Dracotail K9, Yummy, and the old decks. But yeah, so hi Mel, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm Mel, otherwise known as Melissa. Kind of showed up to this event really as more of a tester for the format. Didn't expect actually to do well, and it is very nice to have done well with this deck.
For sure. Yeah, I feel the same about coming top 4 with Yummy. I did not expect it at all. It's about new deck syndrome and seeing if people can read the actual cards. I feel it's often the case. What were you thinking of playing before this? Because you used to play Yubel for a long time, right?
Yeah, I was on Ubel for the longest time, while trying to find something new to play. I was looking at K9 variants. I was looking at K9 Vanquish Soul, K9 Fiendsmith as well. Even K9 Infernoble was a deck for a little while. Um, got this kind of for cheap and decided to just give it a run while I was figuring out the format. And I've fallen in love with it far more than I ever could have thought. I'm absolutely in love with this deck.
Mhm. It is astonishing to me how cheap Juhu stuff is now. Like Dracotail cores are like £80. And if I had the money, I would be buying like all three instantly. Yeah, so before the event, had you tested it much like before this deck this list actually came out? And what were you thinking of going into with if you hadn't found this, do you think?
So up until let's say what was it? After Euros, I played Ubel. Dropped Ubel straight after the event after getting got day two and then got two woed all my day two rounds in about 20 minutes each. I was like, yeah, you can't do this anymore. A friend gave me Mitzi Razio. So I kind of got an idea of play. I hadn't played the best deck for a long time. Friend gave me Mitzi Razio, said, this is what it's like playing a good deck. I'm like, okay, I kind of like this. I kind of like playing good cards. So I was looking at K9, Vanquish Mike out. I want to try and play one of the better decks, play the best deck. Um, didn't want to buy Banquet Soul, so I looked at K9 Fiendsmith. It's like, okay, second best deck might be good. And then obviously we landed on this. I actually only tested this list for let's say hour and a half the night before the regional. Um, after a week of trying to just theory every single K9 variant existent and deciding, no, not going to do this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get into it as you go through the profile, but it strikes me that the advantage recursion you get from this variant of K9 is probably the best out of all of them. Maybe Crystron is like a close second because that
Yeah.
deck is also very scary. But yeah, let's get right into the profile. Do you want to just start talking about the main deck and any of the ratios that aren't usual?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with the Dracotail names. So obviously we've got three of each of the good ones. We've got three Feimina, three Malulu, three Lucius, three Ketu, and three Rahu. You want to max out on all of these. They are your starters, they are your ways to play. There I was finding some consistency issues from the small number of games I've played with the stack. I was like, okay, gonna keep these maximized, want to draw them. Femina's obviously your quick fusion summon. It can make any of the fusions on either turn. It's a bit like your Azuna of the archetype. If you draw it and you resolve it, you are just at such an advantage to any other deck in the format. Um, you've got obviously Malulu, which is a quick effect fusion on your turn. You've got Lucius, which is the rotor. You got Ketu, which is the rotor and fusion summon, and then you've got Rahu, which is just a rip-off branded fusion. So can't really say much about that. I said I know a couple of people are getting into obviously learning Draco Tail now. I think including you after it kind of not being what's the word? Not being the deck people expected. People kind of just wrote it off, and people are now actually learning what the cards do. Um, so obviously, other than that, we've got the dogs, we've got Pan, and we've got Urgula. Um, one of my friends was trying to convince me to play more of these cards because drawing Draco Tail names is never bad. 'Cause you can play stuff like Cartesia, you can play obviously the Poly, to fuse them off. I just went with one-on-one simply because I didn't have enough testing with the deck. I decided in the end to say better to be safe, not play more of the brick cards, and go from there. Alongside obviously two of the traps, one horn, one flame. Not really much to say about them. For the K9 engine, we've got three Azuna, we've got three Jockle, one Lanson, one Lupus, one Release, and one Case. Not really much to say about this. The K9 cards are the supplementary engine you need to play in this deck. The K9 stuff, sorry, the Dracotail stuff doesn't do enough with just by itself. Um, the only thing I would consider probably with the K9 stuff is cutting Force Release. The amount of people who are actually choosing to interact on my turn when I was comboing was actually really quite low. I resolved Force Released, I think, once the entire event, and every other game I just drew it and bricked.
It happens.
Um,
Would you consider playing the other like EX quick play spell that can target any rank 5 that you control and like rank up?
I don't think so, to be honest. I like playing Canaan as a supplementary engine. It's not the main focus. I think obviously setting off Ripper is always really nice, but it just comes up so rarely that I'd rather just not play the extra Garnet. I would like, however, obviously to play perhaps through the case. Obviously, case is adds case always nice to draw. Always way to set up Jockle as well, and I overall think is a really solid card. And I probably should have played more of it. Obviously, moving on to non-engine. We've got the three Super Poly. Card was honestly, I'd probably say it's incredibly mid the entire event. It was the idea was for Yummy because you can Super Poly off pretty much most of the Yummy board and break apart what's left. It was very mid because it doesn't do anything into Vanquish Soul. It doesn't really do anything. It can make Sectarion Dragon or the Dragon Crown in the mirror, but it's also just very mid. And same with Rise on Malice, it's just never felt optimal. So it's probably a card that will end up being dropped after this event. We've then got obviously the stables of this format. We've got three Droll, three for loss, three Perulia, and a Magnu. Magnu is engine because it actually adds Malulu from deck to hand. And Malulu plus any hand trap is full combo. Because I'm not too sure obviously if people know how this deck works, but all your Dracotail fusions, they require a Dracotail monster plus one in the hand. So drawing monsters, drawing dead hand traps, for example, your Charmies, your let's say a loop, a Jocker with no targets, is always fine because they always can be fused off and they can be traded out for materials in your graveyard. With obviously Arthur, who we'll get to in a second. That's the main deck. I said 42 cards, not really much I can say on it. I do maybe want to take it down to 40 cards. I do want to maybe maximize the cannon engine a bit more. Other than that, it felt really solid.
Yeah, I think that Super Poly is a really interesting card in this format because, like, you can S Poly away Malice boards, but then they just have like a million follow-up. So making Earth Golem doesn't really matter. Rise of Mitsu doesn't is never going to happen. Yami, you can poly away the Arclight and something else into the Garura that I see you've got in the extra deck. But at the same time, if you can't pair it with a different board breaker like Harpies to make them use Yami Surprise so that then they can't carry on playing, I can see why it would be a bit mid. How do you find Droll? Because a lot of folks were cutting Droll in this event because of the confidence that they'd seen more of the new decks than Raizo Mitsu, me included. I cut Droll from my list completely.
Um, Joel felt really. Joel felt strong, obviously, into Vanquish, and Vanquish is his like hardest matchup. You played against Luke Tyler round two, and you never really know when you're being outplayed, but watching Luke Tyler just pick apart my entire board, game one, I'm like, yeah, okay, this matchup's not good. Next time, had a Masquerade in defense position, take out the Horn, and then I think it was Hodisu taking my fusion. Like, okay, yeah, no, it's not good. So I feel like you need to play Troll. Maybe it's a side deck card because obviously it doesn't really do anything to Yummy, doesn't really do anything into Dracotail either, and Malice neither. So maybe I can see being in the side deck. Um, but other than that, so the Charmies were insane. I know people dropping Perulia. I saw a lot of builds. I think I'm not sure if you were also not main decking Perulia in the end, but there's another card that could potentially go into the side deck as well in favor of just more targeted hand traps.
Yeah, I cut Puru completely from the list also. So I had Fuwa in the side deck, Ash in the side deck, and main deck was just the purple hand traps like Songs, Imperm, and Purge for playing Yummy. Because the fear was I don't want to let Izuna ever resolve against me. But then, like thinking about it in hindsight, I don't know if that would have actually changed things very much. Whenever I get Pruliad, like playing online, it feels horrible. Like you have to play so differently as Yummy. So I actually think that it's still scope to play it. And the Yummy lists that are playing hand traps still do play it in the main deck. Yeah, I think that it just depends. In the bigger events that we see, like YCS Lille and then Vancouver's coming up quite soon as well, we will just see what the representation really is of the old decks still, to see if these like mandatory nine that always go in against Raizio Mitsu will still be like totally necessary. Yeah, I'm Mag being able to search like any dragon in the game is just crazy. Let's get that tin Starlight and then get it banned. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely, yeah. I think yeah. Well, I think we'll see. Also, we've got the UK Open coming up as well. I think that'll be a good testing ground for seeing what's going to happen. Um, but yeah, the nine cards of the last format. Um, I hope that we might come away from these. I feel like any format or a main deck and draw is probably not really a fun time, but I mean, what can you do really?
Yeah, it's true. Let's move on to the extra deck, I suppose. So we're starting with
Sorry.
the
So
three Arthur. Yeah.
three Arthur, one of my favorite cards in the game right now. I also don't know what he does. Dracotail monster plus a monster in the hand, any number of monsters in the hand. When he's user summoned, he targets a number of monsters in the grave and the field up to the number of ones used from hand, and he returns them. So this is where you can return. You can trade out your bad hand traps for good hand traps. So, for example, a notable thing I was doing a lot of the regional was fusing off, for example, dead Morch armies. I was adding back trolls, I was adding back Azunas, or even adding back Magdamu. I resolved Magdamu, I think, three times, same game into a pure Mitsu. It would just felt unfair. Um, so yeah, this is kind of the reason why you can main deck the Charmies with next to no kind of harm. You can fuse them off, you can add back cards that are actually relevant and just trade off the cards that are just not good.
Yeah, it's
Um,
your version of like normal summon Almirage in Malice. And look, you got a Cyberse monster, or normal summon Almirage, make Almirage with a Charmy in Yummy, then you got a Link one. So like your version is just no, I'll just use them as Spatuel instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's obviously going from here, we have Gulamel, two of but it's same as Arthur in a way regard it requires one monster in hand and one Dracotail monster. And this is a bit like some Dragon Titan. If a card is activated, a Dracotail card is activated, target card on the field and destroy it. It is once per turn. Very sad. But this is usually your end board, consisting of Gulamel, Arthur plus two traps, which constitutes two draws, three interruptions, obviously if you resolve the Gulamel. A notable thing, if you do play against this deck, is that Gulamel has to respond directly to the Dracotail card. If you chain a card effect to the Dracotail effect they're activating, they won't get a chance to activate Gulamel. So just a thing to know. A lot of people obviously don't know that yet. I feel that's something people will know going forward.
Yeah, it's the same as Lady Labyrinth as well. And also, like, I'm noticing that if you get to Ash or Purge or find some way to dodge the traps, then this deck loses quite a lot of its advantage because your traps put back and draw a card, but they can do that only if they have successfully resolved the first part of the effects. So if I activate like Lightning Storm and you chain the thing, target the spell, and I drop that send away the spell
Hmm.
to negate something, then it doesn't resolve. And I've done that like 10 times online already against this deck because those traps are very scary.
The traps, yeah, traps are insane. It's a always a thing I'm telling people when I'm playing this deck is you can Ash, for example, the Rahu, you can Ash the Ketu because they do get you started. But if you're unsure, you can hold the Ash or the Bell for the traps or Purge even. It shuts off the negate and it shuts off the draw. And it's overall just a very good way of playing into this deck's board. Um, Obviously both the Dracotail fusions also. If two monsters sent to grave at the same time, they just special summon themselves. They will be banished when they go, but it is very key for how does it get to lethal. So, for example, your turn threes are usually consisting of making a second Arthur, summoning back to one from grave, and then just going for game. That's a notable thing about how this deck actually kills. It does it very, very efficiently. Going on from there, we've got the two fusion targets that we kind of play. We've got Secretarian Dragon, and we've got the Mysterion. Secretarian Dragon is, I think, what people know as the floodgate for this deck. While it's on field, opponent can activate spellcasters or dragons, special summon monsters, special summon dragons or spellcasters they control. And also, it puts back a dragon or a spellcaster to special summon another one from your graveyard. Card is very strong. Um, it does highly impact the mirror and also just has some applications outside of it. Um, I think I played against Tempai at locals recently. Summoned this against them and just went, yeah, out it. And they didn't they didn't. When we got Mysterion. Mysterion is kind of a weird card to get your head around. It's some builds aren't playing it, they're prioritizing more stuff in the K9 package or their other package that they're playing. It's I can say it's card was very all right, I'd say. It when it came up, it was good. It was nice to have another fusion in my extract that does interact with the opponent on their turn, but it was very awkward to set up, I found.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it might be a little bit win more, but like when I've had the summon against me playing Yami, it is terrifying because you're like, how the hell do I play around this card that banishes my entire field whenever I summon something? Like that's a strong effect.
Yeah, when the card resolves, the card's absolutely insane. I think the number of times I was summoning it for like Vanquish Soul, and I was going, in fact, target your Vanquish Soul monster, and they were chaining to tag out. I'm like, yeah. Or I was playing against Mitsu, and I was like, okay, this card's insane. And they would just chain prayers to tribute the monster we're targeting. I'm like, ah, this card's doing nothing. It's a very telegraphed card, but when it resolves, it's absolutely insane.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
I don't
wild.
think I could ever cut it.
Hmm. So moving on to the Xyz package, I guess at the end we've got Garura and Mudragon that are like the classic S poly targets for just like
Yep.
general boards as well.
Here we've got obviously Nash Knight package. We've got Nash Knight plus the 101. Um, I was told to play 101 by my friends on a call the night before the regional. They said, you can probably make this, play it. So I did. Nash Knight is a good card. I would consider playing the CXEs, and I am testing it currently to go up into one of the bigger XEs. For example, if I cut a Super Poly, but that's usually just a testing point to go about. From there, these are kind of cards that people know, so I'll go a bit quicker through them. We've got the Werewolf, we've got the Ripper. Not much to say about these. I think I summoned Werewolf once. Card is very good when it resolves, but setting up can be quite awkward. Ripper, Fallon. Funny story about this card. At I think 2 o'clock in the morning of the regional, I was looking through boxes of bulk to try and find a copy of this card. I didn't own one, so I had to go around the regional in the morning. Luckily, my friend Carl did give me one, so and he let me keep it as well because I still apparently didn't own one of this card. But yeah, card is very good. And last but not least, we have the Typhon. I'm very glad we can play this card again due to Lupus, and I think making an untitled Typhon turn one is incredibly silly. I think that's the extra deck. There's not too much to say about it. I do want to mess around with the Nash Knight package. I see the Werewolf's going to come out. Likelihood to Super Poly targets as well. Um, Not me more to say on that one.
Yeah, because you can't really make Zeus in this. You're not aiming to whiteboards. Like there aren't that many other fusion monsters that you could use unless you're planning on playing like some crazy 60 card list that has branded cards and Shadow cards in it. I guess the one kind of big question is why not Shadow make Winder and make your opponent cry?
Um, oh, that is a good question. I think in the end, I didn't actually own Shadow cards. I think it's actually probably the most efficient way of saying it. Um, I think I would test them if I had them, but the night before the regional, I hadn't even wasn't even sure I wanted to play this deck. So my friend's like, "Do you want to play Shadow cards?" I said, "I don't own them." They said, "Do you want to play Cartesia?" I said, "I don't own them." So we just play this list. I would probably consider playing them in the future, or at least testing them.
Yeah, I mean, when the support comes out in the next core set right before YCS Lille, see you there hopefully. I meant to be judging it, but I'll find out if I actually got on because it's good money if you sell your stuff. But like by that point, I think that playing Shadow stuff gets pretty efficient and like making Arthur Leon, like bouncing an entire board and like making Winder and be like, it's a fun time.
Oh, we
So finally
oh
moving on to side deck, I guess we have
yeah.
got 15 orange hand traps.
We do. This is a message I received a couple of times from people. Um, what are you doing? Why are you playing 15 hand traps? Answer is, you can't beat Vanquish Soul going second unless you have enough hand traps to just kill them. So you've got the three Ash, three Ogre, three Neb. These are your Vanquish Soul sidings. You take out the Super Polys. You usually take out your extended K9 engine. You say, okay, we'll trade resources. If I resolve a fusion, I probably win. If not, I will lose. Um, and then obviously we've got the Malice, standard Malice hate, is how it is. These will actually end up probably coming out. Um, I will simply not play against Malice. I will simply beat it. I will simply bounce back their normal summon, and they won't be a problem. If you lance your Crystron, they're just going to make Paradise, and the game's over anyway.
Yeah, were you worried about like getting punished by Paradise by playing the hand traps that you are playing already, like the Prulias? Because you said that going into Vanquish, you put in the extra hand traps, but I was quite worried about just getting Paradised. I had it hard made against me because the guy opened like five Vanquish Gold cards and just like summoned Howlong twice, and I was like, epic. But like, yeah, was that kind of a consideration to try to avoid?
Um, Honestly, I would just put them on. You're going to make it. If you make it, I likely lose. I first discovered Paradise the locals the day before the regional when I was playing Draco Fiendsmith because I wanted to play Fiendsmith K9, but I didn't have my K9 cards. I think I double hand trap. I'm gonna go make three into Paradise on their fourth summon. I'm like, my nib's now irrelevant. The game is over. So I was like, you know what? If they're gonna do that, they're gonna do that. If I can stop them, that's the idea. That's the ideal. It's like if I can nib them on some of the Paradise because I've made them play through stuff, that's probably the ideal.
Yeah, like because the theory is of course very different discussing this deck versus Yummy because the deck I was playing, Lawrence Kirklis from Grimsby, which is like loads of breakers in the main deck. You still go first, but you just side in cards for going first if you cut the lightning storms like when your games two and three. But that deck was just like I'm never triggering Izuna, and I'm gonna like side in more spells. Like I should have played Gravekeeper's Inscription and not Lancia
Mhm.
in my list because it's just like such a good breaker to pair with other stuff. But in this, it makes much more sense because you can use all of these orange hand traps to make Arthur. Is the main thing, right?
No, as you say, adding back Ashes, Ogres, Nib, even Lanciers. With Arthur is just so silly. And it is another reason I really, really do like this deck. I've got my Starlight Arthurs in the post now. Decided to treat myself after the regional, so I've got three in the post.
Yeah, I've got a friend at locals, shout out Theo, who is definitely maxing this deck. He thinks that it's low-key broken after Doom of
100%.
Dimensions. Like he thinks it's the best
100%.
deck, like after the set. So I just watched
Oh,
Lucas Sacco and Julian Cahan made a video about what's going to win YCS Vancouver, and they were like, it's between Malice, Kanan Crystron, and this deck actually.
oh yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it's an interesting toss up. Like obviously we both didn't see much Malice at all over this regional, and the past weekend results from the entirety of Europe, like hardly any Malice was winning out. But I do wonder if that's just because people got bored, want to play a new deck, me included, and then got encouraged by lists that were doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it sounds like you've really enjoyed this deck. Any shout outs as well for people that helped you test?
Oh, I'd say lots of shout outs. First shout outs to Carl. I wouldn't have had my K9 cards. I wouldn't have had Valon if he hadn't offered to lend me part of his K9 core. So shout out to him. Shout out to my girlfriend Emily. She actually helped me test a lot of these decks. She's also on this deck now because I've held her on it. And then also I'd say shout outs to my local testing group, as well as Chris, who was actually the one who sat on call with me the night before the regional, trying to get this build sorted and at least semi-playable before my hour and a half trip down to Stevenage by myself because my friend Adam dropped out last minute.
Yeah, I had a solo train journey as well, but I had the time to test yummy combos on the train so that I could actually know what I was doing. So relatable moment. But yeah, once again, congratulations. Like as we were both saying, it's not a deck that was projected to do the best. And out of the set, it was the least hyped out of the three. But it's such an exciting time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where all three decks are so viable, like right out of the gate, and it acts as like a new ban list by itself. Yeah, are you going to go to Lille and like maybe Bologna and stuff and other events like that?
Yeah, I'm planning to hopefully attend the Open, hopefully attend Lille as well, all being well. Trying to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! This format. Not playing UL, or Infernoble, just trying to actually play the best I can. Really enjoy. As I said, I enjoy meeting lots of people, and that's probably the best part of the game for me. So that playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And just having a good time.
I have heard that dragons are more powerful than fiends. So, we're gonna have to test that hypothesis as the months go on.
We get the new Fiend stuff soon in Doom Dimensions, so we might be cooking a new list. Just
It's
saying.
gonna be such a cracked set, yeah. I'm excited. Like obviously for both of us to get the invite right at the start of the season is kind of a confidence boost to think, right, it's worth playing now. And I feel quite torn because I can't really justify or afford the trip to Lille if I don't judge. If I do judge, it's like a really well paid weekend. But if it's not, it's
Hmm.
like, ticket, Eurostar, Airbnb. But like it's annoying to want to play when you can't. But I'll be judging the Open, so I'll see you there and I'll
Hmm.
see our fellow UK gamers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, any final thoughts before we finish?
No, I said I'm really happy with this. I'm really happy with this deck. I said I want to adjust the list quite a lot now. I've had a showing with it. I feel like the deck has a lot of potential, and it's just something I need to theorycraft along with my girlfriend and see what we can do.
Awesome. Well, Mel, thank you so much for coming on the channel and talking about the deck list. Best of luck for future events, and I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.